When everything falls apart, it's easy to believe that you're broken, that something inside you has failed, or that you've somehow lost your way beyond repair. But here's the truth: you're not broken, you're being built. What feels like destruction is often construction in disguise. The moments that tear you apart are the very moments that shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you ever imagined you could be. Think about it. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, comes from someone who faced chaos and pain and didn't give up. They weren't spared from hardship, they were strengthened by it. And yet, when it's you in the middle of the storm, it's hard to see that. It just feels heavy, messy, unfair. But the universe doesn't waste pain. It uses it to build something in you that can't be built any other way. You're not falling apart. You're being reshaped. When things fall apart, life is forcing you to stop living on autopilot. It's shaking you awake. The routines that used to keep you comfortable start to crumble, and suddenly, you're forced to face what's real, who you are without the titles, the plans, the people, or the security you once leaned on. It's in that space of uncertainty that you start to meet yourself again. You discover what really matters. You find the parts of you that are unbreakable. It's painful, yes. Growth always is. But think of what happens when a seed is planted. It literally breaks open before it grows. It doesn't stay perfect and intact underground. It splits apart, and in that breaking, new life begins. You are no different. When your world cracks, it's not the end, it's the beginning of something powerful. You may not see it yet, but this is the part of your story that will one day define you. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to fix everything right now. What you need is to trust that this breaking is part of your building. You need to remind yourself again and again that the pain you're feeling today is creating strength you'll use tomorrow. Every single challenge is building emotional muscle, mental toughness, and the ability to keep going when others would stop. Here's what's even more important. Stop thinking that strength means not crying, not breaking down, not struggling. That's not strength, that's suppression. Real strength is being able to fall apart and still choose to show up anyway. It's allowing yourself to feel the pain, to face it, and to rise in spite of it. It's the quiet decision you make at 2 a.m. when you whisper to yourself, "I'll try again tomorrow." That's power. And yes, it hurts. You might lose people. You might lose the version of yourself that used to feel safe. But what's coming next is built on truth, on courage, on authenticity. You're learning that you can survive without everything you thought you needed, and that realization is freedom. So, the next time your world feels like it's collapsing, remember this is not the end. It's the renovation of your life. You are being stripped down so that something stronger, purer, and more aligned can rise from the rubble. You're not broken. You're being built. And one day you'll look back on this moment and realize that this was the chapter that made everything else possible. Stay with it. Trust the process. The version of you that's emerging from this storm is the one who's going to change your life. You'll never feel ready. That's the truth no one wants to admit. We wait and wait, hoping for that magical moment when the fear disappears, when the doubt quiets down, and when everything finally feels right. But that moment never comes. Readiness is a myth. If you're waiting to feel ready before you take action, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. The people who build, create, and rise aren't the ones who feel ready. They're the ones who act even when they're scared, uncertain, and unprepared. We think motivation shows up first and then action follows. But it's the other way around. Action creates motivation. The second you move, even in a tiny way, your brain shifts gears. You start to feel momentum, clarity, and energy. But as long as you sit still thinking about what you should do, fear grows stronger and the doubts get louder. You can't think your way into courage. You have to act your way into it. There will always be reasons not to start. Always. You'll tell yourself you don't have enough time. You don't have the right plan. You're not skilled enough, not strong enough, not ready. But that's fear wearing logic as a disguise. Fear sounds smart. It tells you to wait until you figured everything out. But deep down, you already know what you need to do. You just don't want to do it yet because it's uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar. And your brain hates discomfort. Here's what you need to understand. You don't have to be fearless to take action. You just have to be brave for 5 seconds. That's it. 5 seconds of courage can change everything. Because once you take that first small step, something shifts. You break the mental barrier that's been holding you back. You start proving to yourself that you can move forward, even when you don't have all the answers. And that proof builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from evidence. Every time you do something hard, every time you push through hesitation, you collect proof that you're capable. The more proof you build, the stronger your belief becomes. That's how people transform their lives, not through massive leaps, but through consistent, small acts of courage taken before they feel ready. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. Stop waiting for the timing to be perfect. There's no such thing as the perfect time. There's only now. Every big moment of change, every turning point, starts the same way with a decision. A decision to act even when it's terrifying. A decision to try even when failure is possible. A decision to trust yourself enough to take the next step. Think about all the times you've hesitated, and then later realized you should have started sooner. You already know what it feels like to wait too long. So what if this time you just didn't wait? What if this time you stopped overthinking, stopped second-guessing, and just moved? That's the power of doing instead of doubting. When you start, you learn. When you act, you grow. Even if you stumble, you're further than the person who's still stuck at the starting line. Every action, no matter how small, creates ripples. Those ripples become habits. And those habits become the foundation of your new life. So when you catch yourself saying, "I'm not ready," remind yourself, no one ever is. The people who succeed are the ones who show up anyway. You don't need to be fearless, you just need to be willing. Willing to take one step. Willing to face the discomfort. Willing to believe that you'll figure it out as you go. Because you will. You always do. The truth is, readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. You decide you're ready by starting. And once you start, everything begins to change. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. The moment is a now. Act first. Feel ready later. When your mind is spinning with fear, doubt, or hesitation, you can't think your way out of it. You can't reason with fear because it's not logical. It's emotional. That's why you can talk yourself in circles for hours, days, even years, and still end up in the same place, stuck and frustrated. What you need is a way to interrupt that spiral, to break the mental loop that keeps you frozen. And that's where the 5-second rule comes in. It sounds simple because it is. Count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. It's not magic. It's neuroscience. Here's what happens. The moment you feel the hesitation, that split second before you talk yourself out of doing something, you start the countdown. By counting backward, you're forcing your brain to focus. You're shifting out of autopilot, out of fear mode, and into action mode. It's like flipping a switch. Your brain can't argue with you while it's counting. And when you hit one, you move. Before your excuses have a chance to show up. You might think, how can something so small make a difference? But the truth is, everything changes in those few seconds. Because hesitation is the death of progress. Every time you hesitate, your brain senses danger. It's wired to keep you safe, not successful. So it pulls you back with thoughts like, what if you fail? Or, what will people think? And once that loop starts, it's game over. The 5-second rule is how you beat that loop. It's how you override the system that's been holding you back. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need to be ready. You just need to count down and go. The beauty of this tool is that it works anywhere. When you're scared to speak up in a meeting, when you need to get out of bed in the morning, when you know you should send that message, take that chance, or start that project. The countdown snaps you out of overthinking and into doing. And every time you do it, you strengthen the connection between your thoughts and your actions. It's not about perfection. It's about momentum. You're training your brain to take action before fear takes over. The first few times it'll feel awkward. You'll question whether it's really helping. But then one day, you'll notice that you're not hesitating as much. You're not stuck in your head. You're just doing. That's because the 5-second rule is more than a trick. It's a habit builder. It teaches you how to trust yourself again, how to move even when your mind tries to stop you. Think about how many moments you've lost to hesitation. The times you wanted to say something but didn't. The times you wanted to start but waited. The opportunities that passed because you let fear talk you out of it. The 5-second rule gives you those moments back. It gives you control over your choices, your energy, and your time. Because you don't need to be fearless to move. You just need to outsmart the fear long enough to act. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will try to pull you back. That's normal. Fear doesn't disappear, you just learn to move with it. That's what courage really is. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to act anyway. When you use the 5-second rule, you're proving to yourself over and over that you can handle discomfort. You're building evidence that you're capable, and that evidence becomes confidence. It's not about doing something huge, it's about doing something small, consistently. 5 seconds at a time. That's how you change your life. You start waking up earlier. You start speaking your truth. You start taking the first step toward that dream you've been postponing. And every time you count down and move, you're rewriting your story. You're choosing action over avoidance, growth over fear, and progress over perfection. So the next time you feel that hesitation creeping in, don't wait. Don't think. Just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. Move toward the life you want before your mind convinces you to stay where you are. Because all it takes to change everything is 5 seconds of courage. Your emotions don't define you. They are not who you are. They're signals, not stop signs. But when life falls apart, emotions can feel like tidal waves. Fear, anger, sadness, confusion. They crash over you all at once, and it's easy to believe they're permanent. You start to think, this is who I am now. This pain, this anxiety, this darkness. But that's not true. Emotions are visitors. They show up, demand your attention, and then move on, if you let them. The problem is that most of us don't let them. We fight them, suppress them, or drown in them. You have to remember this. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's a fact. Feeling lost doesn't mean you are lost. Feeling unworthy doesn't mean you don't matter. Feeling scared doesn't mean you can't handle it. Your emotions are feedback, not identity. They're the body's way of saying, hey, something here needs your attention. But they don't get to run the show, you do. Too often we let emotions drive our decisions. We cancel plans because of anxiety. We lash out because of anger. We quit because of fear, and afterward we regret it. Because deep down you know that emotions pass. They always do. No emotion, no matter how intense, is permanent. Think about the last time you were furious. You probably thought you'd never calm down, but you did. Or the last time you were heartbroken. You thought you'd never smile again, and yet here you are. You've survived 100% of your worst days so far. That's proof that emotions are temporary, and that strength runs deeper than you think. When everything falls apart, your emotions are going to try to take the wheel. They'll tell you stories. You're not enough. This will never get better. You can't do this. Don't believe those stories. Observe them, but don't identify with them. You are the sky. Your emotions are just the weather passing through. Storms come and go, but the sky remains. That's you, the constant underneath the chaos. The key is learning to feel without becoming consumed. Let yourself cry, scream, journal, walk, breathe. Whatever helps you release the emotion. But don't let it dictate what you do next. You can be scared and still take the next step. You can be heartbroken and still get out of bed. You can be anxious and still speak up. That's real strength. Not pretending you're fine, but showing up anyway. You don't need to wait for your emotions to be perfect to take action. You just need to recognize that you can coexist with discomfort. That's how resilience is built, by acting in alignment with your goals, not your feelings. Because feelings change, your purpose doesn't. When you learn to separate the two, you become unstoppable. Start paying attention to your emotional patterns. Notice what triggers you, what drains you, and what lifts you. Awareness gives you power. Once you name what you feel, it loses control over you. Say it out loud. I feel anxious. I feel sad. I feel angry. Naming it reminds your brain that you're in charge, that you are the observer, not the emotion itself. And when those emotions get loud, when fear whispers that you're not ready, when sadness tells you it's hopeless, take a breath and remind yourself, this is temporary. This is a feeling, not a fact. Then do the next right thing, however small. That's how you reclaim your power. You can't always control how you feel, but you can control what you do with those feelings. You can choose patience over panic. You can choose kindness over anger. You can choose to keep moving even when your heart is heavy. Every time you do, you prove that your emotions don't define you. You define them. So, when the storm hits and your emotions threaten to knock you down, don't fight the storm. Stand in it. Feel it. Let it pass, because it always will. And when it does, you'll see that underneath all that chaos, you were never broken. You were just learning how strong your calm could be. When life feels like it's collapsing, your mind immediately starts to spin. You replay what went wrong, what you could have done differently, what you've lost, and what you can't change. It's human nature to try to control the uncontrollable, to cling to what's already gone. But that's the trap. It drains your energy, your focus, and your hope. The truth is, you can't control everything. You can't control what people do, how they treat you, what happens in the world, or what's already broken. But you can always control one thing, what you do next. When everything falls apart, your power lies in where you place your attention. The more you focus on what's outside your control, the more powerless you feel. The more you focus on what's within your control, the stronger you become. It's a simple shift, but it changes everything. Because when you stop trying to fix what's gone, you free up energy to build what's next. It starts small. You can't control how someone hurt you, but you can control how long you let that pain define you. You can't control losing your job, but you can control how you show up the next day. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you navigate through it. That's not just survival, that's strength. Real power isn't about controlling everything, it's about controlling yourself when everything feels out of control. Every day, you have two choices: focus on what's gone wrong or focus on what you can do right now. The first choice keeps you stuck. The second one moves you forward, even if it's just an inch. You don't need to rebuild your whole life overnight. You just need to take one small step that's within your control. Wash the dishes. Go for a walk. Make that phone call. Send that email. Each small action is a declaration. I'm still here. I'm still trying. And that's how you take your power back. It's easy to fall into the why me mindset when things crumble. You ask, why did this happen? Why now? Why can't I catch a break? But those questions keep you focused on the past, on what you can't change. The better question is, what can I do about it? That question shifts your attention from helplessness to action. It reminds you that you still have agency, even when life feels chaotic. Let's be honest, it's not easy. There will be days when you feel like you can't do anything. Days when it all feels unfair. But that's when this truth matters most. Your strength grows every time you focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. You'll start to notice that the more you practice this, the calmer you become. You stop reacting to every storm and instead, you learn to stand steady in the middle of it. When you focus on what you can control, you also rebuild trust with yourself. You stop waiting for external validation or rescue. You realize that no matter what happens, you can count on yourself to take the next step. That kind of confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from choosing your focus moment by moment. So, when the world feels heavy, pause and ask yourself, what's mine to carry and what's not? Then drop what's not. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to handle what's in front of you. That's enough. That's how you start to rebuild, by managing the small things that are still within your reach. Because here's the truth. The things you can't control may shake you, but they don't define you. What defines you is how you respond, how you rise, how you keep moving forward, even when everything around you feels uncertain. The moment you shift your focus from what's lost to what's possible, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the author of your comeback. And that's where your power lies, not in controlling the chaos, but in mastering your response to it. When you do that, you stop surviving and start rebuilding. One choice, one moment, one controlled action at a time. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up over and over again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Staying strong when everything falls apart isn't about pretending you're fine or pretending you don't hurt. It's about making a choice. A raw, honest, courageous choice. To rise again even when every part of you wants to give up. The truth is, you don't rise once and stay there forever. You rise 100 times, in 100 different ways, through every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment. There's this illusion that strong people don't struggle. But that's wrong. The strongest people you'll ever meet have fallen more times than you can count. They've been broken, betrayed, and tested. They've cried in silence, doubted themselves, and questioned everything. What makes them strong isn't that they never fell. It's that they refused to stay down. They stood up, wiped their tears, and took one more step forward. That's what resilience really is, choosing to rise again and again, even when it hurts. Sometimes rising doesn't look heroic. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it's showing up to work when you'd rather hide. Sometimes it's forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, or forgiving yourself for what you didn't know back then. Rising isn't always loud. It's quiet, stubborn, and deeply personal. But every small rise counts. Every time you get up, you're building a foundation of strength you can stand on later. The moments that break you are the same moments that reveal what you're made of. When everything falls apart, you learn what's truly important. You discover who shows up, what matters and what doesn't. And most importantly, you discover that you have more in you than you thought. You learn that you can survive the thing you thought would destroy you. And that realization changes everything. Once you've seen yourself rise from the ashes, you stop doubting your power. You stop underestimating your ability to rebuild. But you have to choose it. You have to decide every single day that giving up isn't an option. It doesn't mean you won't fall again. You will. It means that when you do, you'll know how to rise faster. You'll know that setbacks don't define you. Your response to them does. You'll understand that strength isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. There will be days when it feels like the world is too heavy to carry. Days when you're exhausted from trying. On those days, don't chase perfection. Just chase progress. Remind yourself that standing up doesn't have to look graceful. You don't have to run, you just have to keep moving. Progress can be messy. It can be slow. But it's still progress. And here's the beautiful thing, every time you rise, you inspire someone else to do the same. You may not even realize it, but someone is watching you fight through your storms. Someone is gaining strength because of your resilience. That's how strength multiplies. It spreads through example. When you rise, you don't rise alone. You give others permission to believe they can too. So when it feels like everything around you is falling apart, when your world feels shattered and your heart feels tired, remind yourself this is not the end of your story. It's just the hard chapter before the turning point. You've risen before and you will rise again. Not because it's easy, but because that's who you are. A fighter, a survivor, a builder of your own comeback. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next small step forward. One choice, one breath, one moment at a time. That's how you rise. That's how you rebuild. And that's how you stay strong when everything falls apart. Not by never falling, but by choosing to rise every single time you do.